This is a quick video to help you understand the steps to format and lay out a report for senior school economics, legal studies, any HAS subject, geography, etc. The first step to undertake once you've opened up your Word document is to insert a cover page. So I click on Insert, Cover Page, choose a nice professional option and Insert. Conveniently, it now adds a second page for me to move on to the next phase of my work. Step is to insert our table of contents and our list of figures. To achieve this, we go back to our top margin here, click on References, over on the left hand side, drop down menu, Table of Contents. You'll notice it says there's no styles available. We will be adding our headings next. Okay. Drop down 2 lines, type List of Figures. Below the list of figures, now go back to your menu section. You'll see it says about in the middle, Insert Table of Figures. Click on that. It will give you options for layout, etc. We'll choose Figure and we will click on OK. Once again, no data found because we haven't got a list of figures available yet. Drop down below that line. We now want to insert a page break so that we can start writing the body of our work on a fresh page. Insert from our top menu, Page Break. We now have our third page ready for us to begin writing our sections, introduction, background, etc. You'll now see on the right hand side a series of headings. These are headings that recently some students have used in an economics task in Year 11, so I thought it was a good way to give you an exemplar of how to convert these headings to styles so that you can reference them back to your table of contents. To achieve this, I click on Home. I'm on a Mac, so my styles are nice and big here across, but you will find a little Styles button, probably tucked away in your top bar here on a PC. My first step is to take my first heading, and I'm going to convert that one to Heading 1. Now once that heading goes to Heading 1, you'll notice that there might be some font changes, some colour changes. You can then adjust those as you wish. If you'd like to turn them back to black, that's fine. You can do that with your text functions up here in the top left of your screen. If you wish to keep them as they are, that's also fine. Speak with your teacher, consult with your teacher for that. So now the introduction background is 2.0. So they're my section headings. I then move into what I'll refer to as my subsection headings for background, market structures, producers, customers, and the product. I will assign these a different heading structure, which is Heading 2. Click on Heading 2. They still appear there. You can notice they're a bit smaller now. 3.0, setting up my section for my analysis, Heading 1. My subsections, once again, Heading 2. My final parts here for 4.0, reference list, Heading 1. You'll notice I have included in here a reference list of figures. I believe that it's best to separate your referencing for your figures and data and graphical information from your text-based sources. I get that one Heading 2. And then our appendix here, 6. For anywhere you've done calculations, if you've created your own pie graphs, you should insert the original data back into an appendix. So now that text has been converted from our normal to either Heading 1 or Heading 2. When I now click to my table of contents, I see a box above, drop down menu, update table, and you will see that that information has been passed across correctly. It still all lives on what we refer to as page 2 of our report, but as you add the text into your sections and add your data and graphical information into your sections, you merely have to go through it before you submit it, update table, and your numbers will automatically update the entire table. And that is how to use styles to create headings that speak to your table of contents. In considering font selection and spacing, my recommendation is for a clean font such as Aptos or Calibri that doesn't have what's called serifs on it. Serifs being the little wingdings you get on these sorts of fonts. Stick with a nice clean font, they're generally easier to read. The next step is to ensure that you space your work correctly. You will note that I've got here 2 relatively short paragraphs with a line spacing in between. Also recommend that you set your line spacing at 1.5. It may look very spaced out, but trust me, it is significantly easier for a reader to read. And you want the person to be able to read your work very effectively. Final step, always ensure that your font size is 12-point font. Okay, you don't have to print this report, you're not worried about the number of pages in it. A larger, like that 12-point font tends to be a very easy one to read on the modern marking programs such as CAMI that organisations use these days. Insert some data sets such as these price trend graphs for crude oil and gasoline into an assessment task, including legal studies, geography, etc. It is important that you caption your figures correctly. To caption a figure, click onto the picture. Up top, references, insert caption. Automatically, it labels it as figure 1. Remember that figures go below the selected item. If you choose tables, you would put it automatically goes above the selected item. So we're going to do figures, figure 1, and I'm going to call this one 10-year price of crude oil, WTI. Okay. What I then need to do is I will need to source this graph. Okay, so I'm going to put my brackets here so that I know I have to put a reference in for it. You must reference your data correctly. Okay, just as you would an in-text reference for a source within the body of text. I'm then just going to give myself a line, and hopefully this goes back to there. No, it's not doing it. I'll continue here. Note, vertical axis represents price per barrel in US dollars. Once I add that into the caption now, I can actually step into a second note. Okay, so US dollars. Please ensure that whenever you are using your data sets here, you may actually want to describe what's on both axes. I think the bottom one is fairly straightforward, but there is no indicator of what the vertical axis is. Then continue for your next one. We'll just do it again. Insert caption. Automatically tells me figure 2, 10-year price, gasoline. I'm going to go a bit quick on this one. Keep it going. Okay. I'm not going to add any notes into this one here. Just want to make sure that we get there. If you write a spelling error, you can fix it. We've now assigned figure 1 and figure 2 to these graphs. When we now step back to our table of contents here, our first page, in our list of figures, I can now click on my little list of figures here. Just going to remove that and go back to references, insert in references, isn't it? Insert table of figures. Okay. And it automatically picks up on that information that I've provided there. Once again, just to confirm, make sure that you do reference your graphs, which is going to be our next step. In text and in reference list is a vital process in achieving full marks for the creating response section of your paper. Some people like to use a plugin within their website. I've been using recently this ZeteroBib, zbib.org, which is recommended by the University of Melbourne. So I might have taken a list of my websites that I've used throughout the work. I can merely place the URL straight in, press cite. You'll notice that it doesn't give the name of Trading Economics, the company name there. So I'm going to actually just do a quick edit, add in the website title. And then you'll notice that the updates to correct Trading Economics. From here I get a citation reference, which isn't tradingeconomics.com. It should be the actual name of the website page. I can copy that, and then I also get now my full reference for my reference list. So quickly doing the same with my gasoline. Edit. Done. We now have those two entries sitting there. My next step would be, for instance, if I use my textbook, and this is the Unit 3 to 4 one, just grab that as an exemplar, I can insert the ISBN number for the book, which appears just at the bottom of the page. Copy the ISBN number. You'll find these on every book that's published. Enter and cite. Now what you'll notice here is that it gives me the name for the book, 2018, and Cengage Australia. Importantly, sometimes things like the author's names do not get picked up with these online editors, and so you have to check it. With any book, you must include the names of the authors. And it doesn't take long to add these in. Make sure you spell their names correctly, and done. You'll now see that the reference is updated to the appropriate format. You can then also check your citation. It will say Cave et al. 2018, and once again you now have your reference for your reference list. The next phase is to insert this information into the correct locations in your Word document. Correct and double checked, you can then insert them into your report in the appropriate locations. Remember that any ideas, concepts, information referenced from sources must be in-text referenced. So I could, for instance, grab my textbook reference if I've used my textbook, copy across and paste with match formatting. It will include it just like that. Then scrolling down to my analysis, I've got my crude oil. I've already noted I need a reference for that. Find my crude oil under ZBib, copy citation, and once again, paste, match formatting. Likewise for our gasoline. Keep match formatting. Okay, nice and neat and tidy, all looking correct. I now scroll down to my reference list. Under my reference list, I copy my book title. Just once again, make sure that we match formatting. And our reference list for figures. And the final one here, match formatting. Okay, always ensure that you, once again, appropriately space your work, thusly, line spacing, etc. Okay, so now I have a reference list of figures included. Ensure always that you set them apart so that they are easily identifiable. And this reference list of figures is for all your data sets that are used. Reference list is for your text-based and website-based sources. To conclude this paper, there's a couple of key ideas. Ensure that reference lists are alphabetical. Often overlooked is that all your reference lists should be alphabetical by the first letter under that section, so 5.0 versus 5.1, whatever numeral system you've used. You can easily put your jumbled reference list into something that might use AI to shift it to an alphabetical reference list. Back in the day, we used to use Excel to do similar. You'd put all your data into Excel and then you would use a sort function, which is mechanical computing. An AI source would be able to do it for you by just giving it a clear instruction. I don't necessarily see that as unethical use of AI. I think that is using a tool that will improve our productivity. Your appendix, my final step here, is in your appendix is your tables, data, and calculations that you've created yourself and that relate to any information that you've put throughout your paper. So for instance, if you're calculating percentage changes, if you're creating your own pie graphs, ensure that you include in your appendix the appropriate data to support the work that is completed. This concludes our video on setting up a report. And if we look back over our work, we now see that we have a title page, table of contents, list of figures. We've structured our headings correctly. We've inserted graphs. We have provided accurate referencing for our graphs. Very, very important step. We've noted the axes, and we have added the appropriate information into our reference list and reference list of figures, and we understand the role of appendix. I hope this video has been helpful, and all the best in your next report writing process.